fund, because this is a little bit different animal. This was created to address statewide and county impacts. So after the state off-the-top allocation, after the 60% to local government, the remainder is deposited into the Marcellus Legacy Fund. And it's used to address a variety of environmental issues and goes to a variety of different state funding programs or institutions. So, Natural Gas Energy Development Program was funded. The Commonwealth Financing Authority receives dollars from this. Environmental stewardship monies. Highway Bridge Improvement Restricted Account. So money's going into deteriorated and deficient bridges for the first time ever, again because of oil and gas. H2O PA program, infrastructure investment, DCD, Department of Community and Economic Development, and 15% to all Pennsylvania counties, all 67 Pennsylvania counties for environmental uses. So, this is a map that shows you the designation of Marcellus Legacy Fund money. Now, if you remember the other map, the colors, so the dark shows where the highest amount of money goes. If you remember the other map, that showed the orange and the heavy orange colors, where the drilling occurred, that's where the money was going. This Marcellus Legacy Fund is based upon population and road miles. So if anybody tells you that urban counties and the southeast corner of Pennsylvania is not benefiting, I would beg to differ. They are receiving hundreds of thousands of dollars based upon activity that is occurring here. They have new revenue sources to improve their parks, to improve a degraded watershed that has been in for decades. They have new monies for their bridges because of oil and gas that is happening here in our communities. One little caveat about the Marcellus Legacy Fund money. It is not reportable. There's nothing in the legislation that requires counties to report out on this money. Every 67 county, every county gets it. Washington County gets a small amount. In fact, I've pulled that up while I was sitting here and enjoying your meeting. Now, keep in mind, Washington County has some of the highest number of activity occurring. In 2013, around $200,000 we received in Washington. Greene County, as you can tell by the map, received less than that. More wells than any that are occurring out east, and yet they are receiving that. Allegheny County is receiving that. And the point here being, this benefits everybody. It benefits government across Pennsylvania. So what I've been doing is I mentioned, going around to municipalities, talking to them about how do you handle oil and gas. What do you do? Well, first you need to have a plan. You need to be able to communicate. You need to identify your partners. You have to be willing to hear and understand the concerns that people express, because there are a whole lot of people who are uninformed about oil and gas in Pennsylvania. But I'm going to tell you something else that's happening in Pennsylvania. You have people that are being paid to come into your communities and to travel the nation telling you how bad unconventional shale development is. People are being paid to do that. It is America, oil and gas does create jobs. We've created the paid protester, or we've at least well-funded them. And I say that kind of in a funny way, but I've seen them derail the public process in communities. I've seen them hold back communities. Since the impact fee has been assessed, Robinson Township, you have generated just under $600,000 that has come into your community. In Washington County, over $14 million has been generated from the impact fee. These are critical dollars in a time where you don't need your property taxes raised, you don't need more fees on more taxes on yourself. This is private industry creating jobs In Pennsylvania, because many of you probably own your mineral rights, if you've had a lease, you're going to collect that revenue. You're going to pay taxes on that revenue. That's going back to the municipalities. There are jobs that are being created. This is unprecedented in our history in Pennsylvania. You can't even compare the steel industry to oil and gas because of those mineral rights and those lease payments. So what I tell communities, Robinson is going to have a different impact than McDonald Borough. I have studied Pennsylvania a lot regarding the oil and gas development. I have case examples where communities have tried to identify oil and gas needs. I can give you case examples of communities, county-owned property, had a private company come in, 5-year lease. They needed rail access. They did over $1 million of improvement to create a laydown facility on a 5-year lease. When they leave, if they leave in 5 years, the county is going to be left with a usable gray field, a usable site that they can attract somebody else in at no cost to them. So be ready for those types of opportunities. What does the community need? And be ready to tell companies that are coming in, if you have brownfields, can they be reused? Do you have rail access? Do you have highway access? Or should I say, will you? And then think about the development that might occur around the interchange. A lot of these companies require highway access, rail access, even the waterways. The whole Monongahela Valley River is seeing a revitalization of their rail sidings. Invest in your infrastructure. Invest in your community character. You might have companies that want to locate either in McDonald Borough or Robinson Township to have their company located here. Learn the facts and understand the possible impacts. That's the most important, and do not let yourself get derailed when a lot of times what you can create is a win-win scenario if you're willing to partner with the communities and the companies that come to town. And what I wanted to do was leave you with a couple of thoughts and a couple of case examples that are specific to Washington County. Partnerships and community benefits. Think out of the box. There are any number of opportunities related to conservation, habitat improvement, recreation, farmland preservation that are now almost commonplace because of the oil and gas industry. I can name you several different case examples with your local parks in Washington County that have stood tremendous benefit, but I do have a couple of very specific things just to kind of change the conversation. Habitat creation. Pipelines can be used for wildlife corridors and forage areas. The Elk Country Alliance specifically has a program in north central Pennsylvania designed to partner with the oil and gas companies to create habitat along the new pipelines that are being built. How many of you know that Pennsylvania has the largest free roaming elk herd east of the Mississippi? They travel over multiple counties. How do you get those big animals to disperse properly? Well, this group came up with the idea to work with the gas companies to plant forage areas to track them to certain areas. Habitat, hunters, but this can also be used for corrective action. Best practices to mitigate erosion, acid mine drainage, improving stream flow. Recreation. I'm going to show you an example of very out-of-the-box recreational opportunity, but also farmland preservation. A local farm here in Morris Township, Washington County, landowner had a gathering line constructed on their property. They wanted 2 additional acres for hay. Farm over a pipeline. They had their land timbered, cleared, and now you can see that right away. And if you have really good eyes, you can see about four doe. I think those are all doe. So now the hunter, but now the farmer, they got paid for their timber. They have additional acreage for active agriculture production, and on the weekends or during hunting season, I should say, they also have another depending on your perspective, recreational opportunity or providing food for their family. Then that's a local farm. This is one of the best examples that I can give you of a local opportunity that occurred with oil and gas in terms of recreation. And that is a railroad trail. How many of you have walked the Montour Trail? I hope a couple of you here. Wonderful resource. It's known across the state as one of the best trail systems around. Partner with Mark West. Company needed the rail access. They built an active railroad track and created 4 miles of a railroad trail. Trail Council gets the payment for the lease, gets a new trail, the community benefits from the added recreational opportunity, and the municipalities have the benefit of a whole lot of truck traffic being removed from its local roadways. These are 2 examples of how as private citizens you can create benefits for your own that are beyond just the dollar amount. This particular example is again a benefit that has occurred because people were willing to talk and think outside the box. I could go on about this, but it's getting late, and you guys have been very kind not to walk out on me. So if you have questions, I'm happy to keep on talking. I answer anything that you might have, and if not, I would like to thank you very much for your patience. Yes?
If we get a Democratic governor, that's all going to change?
Oh, boy. Right off the bat, right? Well, I don't know your political leanings, obviously, but the way the gubernatorial race is going, Tom Wolf is proposing to institute a severance tax.
That's what I meant. So if we get the severance tax, there's no Act 13 money anymore, right?
Yeah, the Act 13 includes a caveat that should a tax be instituted, that would go away. I am always leery of anybody saying tax. And I have very much of a huge concern, as should everyone, that when you say tax, who collects it? It's Harrisburg. Where does it go? General fund. So I'm very concerned about that. I'm very concerned about a potential to have what has been the best thing to local government, the impact fee, being wiped off the map. Nobody knows local issues like your local elected officials. Well, county, but especially the township supervisors or borough council. They know your issues. They are best positioned to allocate those money to address local needs and local impacts as the impact fee was designed. Now, would an impact fee go for, or a tax go forward? That depends, of course, on the legislature. Just because the governor says something doesn't mean it was going to happen. But I hope everybody will do what they can to make sure that a severance tax would not go forward. And I'm going to say another reason why, because it's not just going to hurt where you live in your community, your municipality. A severance tax can effectively wipe out new investment coming into Pennsylvania. Some companies, and I don't want to name names, but some companies have identified their acreage, they know where their assets are, they've proven those. There are many areas in Pennsylvania where it's still exploratory. They don't know exactly where the sweet spots are. So if you're going to impose a higher tax burden on a municipality in a state that already has a high tax burden, you have effectively wiped out any type of entrepreneurial spirit that would have created new exploration. So that's one. Secondly, I told you I